Hello and welcome to the Musical Instrument Investigator. Today we're on the website of Amati Auctions based in the UK, and we're going to have a look at one of their specialist auctions. This one is ending on the 2nd of November, which is Wednesday, and it is Monday today, the 31st of October, so a couple of days left to go. Hopefully by the time this video is uploaded, it will kind of still be a couple of days left to go. You never know with some of these slow uploadings. So a couple of people recently have asked if it's possible to basically look at a few instruments in an auction rather than look at every single instrument and just like briefly kind of go over it. They want to know if it's possible to just kind of cover a few key things which are kind of interesting or that I think are kind of worth, or that we think are worth kind of investigating a bit further. So that's what we're going to attempt to do in this video. So I've managed to get Max with me today, a rare occurrence. Hello, Max.
Hello.
So Max has sent me a list of some items he wants to look at, and I have a list of some items as well, and we're basically just going to go through those. I think it's going to be about 20 items or so, but we might wing it as we go along. We might add a few rogue ones in here and there, and we'll see how it goes and see if this format's a bit more popular. So as I always say, my disclaimers are buyer's fee is 22%, so that's what you put on top of the hammer. This is a UK auction, so check all the terms and conditions, shipping and stuff if you're outside of the UK, if you're in Europe, the world, CITES restrictions, all of that kind of fun stuff. One thing I do want to say about this is if we're not covering every single instrument, then you need to be aware that a lot of catalogs of these auction houses disappear. So by me not covering, or by we not covering every single lot, you lose that ability to look back at those lots in the future. Some auction houses do keep the catalogs or parts of the info, others don't. So you just need to be a bit aware of that. The other thing to say is that it's actually quite important to look over catalogs more than once, because you do miss things the first time. So I recommend looking at a catalogue kind of 2 or 3 times, really. That would be my personal recommendation. But anyhow, we will crack on. And what we'll do is we'll go through the lots, but we'll also scroll down a little bit slowly. So at least there's some kind of vague record of some of the lots as we go through. So yeah, I think some of the first ones are ones that I've chosen. So we'll just kind of get into that and see what we think. There's about just under 300 lots, I think, in this auction. Lots of cellos, violas, violins, bows, some cases, some books, the usual kind of thing. So yeah, I just wanted to start really on this one, lot number 2, a cello by George Craske, England, circa 1850. I just thought George Craske to me is a really interesting English maker, quite prolific in the fact that he supposedly made over 4,000 instruments by himself, basically. Was a bit of a recluse, although some of the instruments were finished by the Hills after he died. But it's just unusual to see a cello, and actually I don't think I've ever seen a Craske cello before. And I looked at this instrument in person in the auction preview, and I just thought it's quite an interesting instrument to share with people, really, and it seemed in fairly kind of good condition, really. So that was kind of one of my things. Do you have any thoughts on this, Max?
I mean, from what Amati says, there's just some cracks to the ribs, but otherwise it's a clean instrument, which is that's great.
Yeah.
Uh, Interesting thing is on the label it says it's made by George Craston when he's born, when he died, so, and sold by Hill, so it was labeled by them much after. I don't know if that's the actual label. It'd be interesting, but they're not showing. And also inscribed this made in 1850, just stating the obvious, but obviously it's very well made. I wonder, I don't, then from the sound of it, this wouldn't be one that the Hill is finished, right?
Um, it could have been. I'm not sure of the exact labels. Usually, the ones which have this hill labeling did have some kind of work done by them, but I'm not sure kind of exactly to what level, or if it was some instruments were varnished, I think, and some may have been kind of set up by the hills. But there were a few instruments that I think that he did sell himself, but I think there are a lot which were kind of hoarded. I mean, what happened was when he died, he left all the instruments to his friend that I can't remember the name of now, and he sold them all to the hills basically, and they gradually kind of churned them out into the open market. So
Yeah, well, I just thought it's interesting that Hill would put another label in it.
right, yeah, I mean they did that with a lot of instruments. You see lots of violins and violas with this similar label to this. So
Yeah, the double turn scroll looks amazing.
yeah, I he was like an extremely fast maker because I mean he lived like to quite a kind of an old age, obviously. But to have made kind of over 4,000 instruments like by yourself, if this was true, in even in kind of like whatever it is, 90 odd plus years, that's still quite an achievement, you know. It's quite impressive. So that's why I think this is like a really interesting maker. And like I said, this is kind of I don't recall having seen a cello before, but perhaps I just kind of overlooked it really. But I think 10 to 15,000 for kind of a known English maker, I think that's not a bad estimate. Obviously the current bid is 11, so we never know what might happen there really.
Yep,
But yeah, no, I just thought that was an interesting, for me, an interesting cello to show because I do like this maker.
I agree. Yeah, definitely one of those really high level English works.
So just moving on now to another one, then another cello, Lot 3, a cello for W.E. Hills and Sons, London, circa 1920 there. This one estimates 15 to 25,000. Starting bids 15. So this is one of possibly only 31 cellos by the Hill
Mm.
Workshop. So this instrument, I have to say, is absolutely stunning in person. You can see that back. This is an incredibly beautiful cello, but the big unfortunate thing is that it does have a soundpost crack in the back, which
Ooh,
it's been closed, but it is obviously going to affect the value of it. But this instrument, I cannot overstate how beautiful this is. Just looking at this 3D kind of spinning thing
yeah,
here, you can just see that
really.
it is absolutely stunning. I mean, it's probably one of the reasons why it ended up with a soundpost crack, because this is obviously this kind of like highly figured wood is a bit more susceptible to that. But this really is a beautiful instrument, and you can kind of just see a bit of the kind of crack if you really zoom in. You can see the soundpost crack. But to me, if you're a player, because these are really well made instruments, 15 to 25,000 pounds, somewhere around that, I think that's quite a good price for an instrument like this. Personally, even with the soundpost crack in the back, I think this is, you know, a really nice instrument. And yeah, okay, maybe it's not going to do amazingly well in the future in terms of kind of appreciation in value, um but
Well, you
yeah,
never know. I think there's been a lot of effort in the field to change the stigma around back sound post crack. Obviously, auction houses are not buying it because buyers are not exactly buying it yet. But absolutely, I don't see how it will have an effect in sound if it's properly repaired. Um,
no, yeah,
but
I mean it shouldn't have an effect on the sound at all. It's more that um this kind of crack, because of obviously where the soundpost is, it's going to always want to push out, so you probably will have to do that repair again in the future at some point.
there's
And this
a
is
stability concern with the back sound post crack, which some could argue is also a myth. I mean, I've seen sound post crack. I mean, I don't think the idea is that it will push, but the idea is that it will develop because in on the front, because of the spruce grain, the development's very um it's very predictable. It's gonna go up and down, which is fine. And but on maple, it's hard to tell, especially with this figured maple. But I can say that if the patch evens out the pressure from the sound post, it shouldn't have it shouldn't be any less stable than a normal crack on the back. So to say that it will continue to develop all the way to the end of the play, I don't think it's going to happen. So as long as it's well repaired, and if this is purchased as like a performance instrument, it's going to be great. And like you said, this instrument is absolutely stunning. The wood they used, the varnish, the way that the scroll is made, like holy cow.
Yeah, this instrument in person, like it really is beautiful, like really is incredible. Interesting here saying that it was made in between 1890 and 1895, but it stayed in the shop and wasn't varnished until 1962, which is quite interesting. So
Makes you wonder why the Hills didn't make more cellos.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean this is really quite a stunning instrument, definitely. So that was one of the ones that I kind of wanted to pick and talk a bit about really. Um, then I think we're still on cellos. I think this is worth kind of looking at. Lot 5, a small cello circa 1780.
I,
This thing really curious. Labeled Lorenzo Storioni 1781.
actually,
Really interesting instrument.
before we move on, I just want to mention something that I've probably also mentioned in the past. Uh, on the Hill cello, if you look at the Amati condition report, one of the huge problems with Amati is that they don't report internal stuff. So for a sound post crack, they'll draw a crack, a closed crack, but they will never show you what kind of patch was used, if there's patch at all, or what's going on inside. So to me, that's a huge problem, especially when you're just buying online. So if you're buying anything from Amati, I will highly recommend either ask them to take a picture of the inside or go there in person, find a friend to help you go there in person, take a look inside, see what's inside.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think
And
it's worth. I mean, if you ask them for more information, then they'll provide it, or definitely try and get to the auction, like you say, or get someone to do it for you. It's definitely you got to do your due diligence when you're buying at auction for sure.
you know, Amati's not particularly good at this, but in the end of the day, it's not the auction house responsibility to report every single thing. And so you have to be very careful. There's a reason why auctions are not for your average musicians.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Although some might have you believe otherwise, but yeah, definitely you've got to be careful with these things. Okay, so if we just go back again, well, one thing actually, this is a bit of a going back again, but I actually forgot to look at the 3D viewer there of the Krask cello, so I'll just do a quick spin there for people so that people don't get upset that I didn't do that. So moving back anyway to lot 5, this small cello, circa 1780. This is a really curious instrument, obviously in need of substantial restoration, and it's obviously like a small size, so it's not going to appeal to everyone, but this is I think a very curious cello. Do you have any thoughts, Max?
Uh, it's definitely interesting. I mean, it's going to require a lot of work, but the form, it does remind you a lot of those older Italian cellos,
Mm.
right? Like those early Brescian cellos, Amati cellos, this really wide form.
Yeah, it's definitely the curious one, and
That
it's it's hard to see from the damage, but if you zoom in a bit closely and you look at some of the edge work here and looking, beyond some of the retouched varnish a bit,
Mm.
you've got to kind of like use your imagination a bit, but there's some interesting elements to this cello, I think.
And I don't know if the varnish is original. If it is, that's amazing. That's like that's your brush and that's almost like your brush and varnish.
Hmm. Yeah, that I mean, I'm not 100% sure, and they don't comment on that here. So really, you'd need to be there in person and look at it with a UV light or something to try and
Yeah.
understand a bit better. But I just thought this was a kind of an interesting uh lot in this auction.
If you're looking for a good good restoration project, best bang for your bucks.
Yeah,
But just
exactly.
just be sure to Dendro it before you buy it, just be sure what it is.
Yeah, exactly. No, definitely. So as you can see here, a few other kind of instruments here. You can see some of the current bids there. We'll just kind of quickly move down until the next lot that we've chosen. Max, if you see anything that you're interested in, just feel free and we'll can do a little deviation from our list, but we'll move on to the next page. I think in this auction, we won't go too crazy on the bows. I'm just going to pick one really, but maybe in the future we'll do more bows because I know some people do like bows. I just wanted to talk about this bow, Lot 54, the silver mounted violin bow by John Dodd. This is a really, really interesting bow in person. Slightly odd kind of design with this big kind of pearl eye, interesting kind of pearl on the button, just really interesting in many different ways, and in actually quite good condition for its age. There's some kind of uh potential issues here, maybe near the on the stick near the end, but in general this was quite a nice bow, uh quite an unusual design and quite a strong stick. So this one I just wanted to point this particular one out, and I just thought it was quite curious really. Do you have any bow thoughts at all?
I'm just that horrible with bows. I literally can't tell.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think this bow I thought was really nice. And I actually asked the opinion of a few kind of bow specialists that I know, and they seem to think that it was quite an interesting bow as well. I mean, it's slightly it's not your normal kind of bow, so I'm not sure how much appeal it has to a wider audience, but yeah, it's certainly
Want to
an
explain?
interesting one.
Maybe I wasn't paying attention. Do you want to explain in detail what part of the bow interests you the most?
The shape of this frog, the
Mhm.
kind of the position of this eye, the size of the pearl eye on this, just the kind of the general fits, the button as well,
Mhm.
just some of the details around the head as well. Just like there's many different elements to this bow which are kind of slightly unusual, but the aesthetics of it, they're really to me quite captivating. This is an unusual bow, by a very famous English maker. So I just thought it was quite a curious one, a curiosity,
Mhm.
some would say. But that's all I kind of really wanted to say on that one. And then moving on to the next lot that we have down on the list. I think these are all mostly my picks so far. I think Max's ones are going to be a bit different, but I just thought I'd pick a few different things. So there's a few other bows here, but we're just gonna work on that a bit later. There's some really great violas here in this auction as well, so I definitely encourage people to have a look at those. I like weird things, so I just wanted to pick this particular one. This viola, probably Scotland, 19th century. This is a tiny viola, 372 millimeter body length, but I think this is really charming instrument. It's kind of inked purfling, Really, really kind of curious scroll on this one, really charming. And I did a video, like a short video of this instrument, and it seems to be quite popular on YouTube. I just think this is a really, it's just a bit of an oddity, and I like odd things, so there's not really any particular logic to my choice. Obviously it's set up with kind of gut strings there in a kind of classical setup, but I just thought it was a really kind of unusual instrument, just full of charm, really.
I cannot. I agree.
Yeah, there's not really much to say about it. I'm not really convinced that this will sell because 372 is absolutely tiny, even for the smallest violas. So I'm not really sure that it will do particularly well. But this is a really nice instrument in person as well, I have to say.
It's
Uh,
also absolutely huge for a violin.
yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you say, it could. I mean, the shape is a bit too kind of deviating there, but yeah, I mean, you do get some violins which do kind of get near that territory, don't they?
Mhm.
So, but
You know, if since the purflings are painted, if you really want to modify it to a violin or extend it to a viola, it should be pretty easy.
yeah, you could do that. I'm not sure about the ethics of that in
Yeah,
this
that
day
would
and
be
age, but
definitely erasing history there.
yeah, exactly. But no, I just thought this was a really curious instrument that I really kind of yeah, quite like really. So I thought that was a curious one. So let's kind of carry on, and I think the next lot is one that we're potentially both interested in here. So this is probably the star lot in the whole auction.
Hmm.
Probably a lot of people interested in this. So this is the violin by Carlo Antonio Testore, Milan, circa 1725. Head original to the violin, but probably by a member of the Pasta family. I think that's because members of the Pasta family were living with the Testore family at the time, and I think that the auctioneers believe that the head looks like the work of the Pasta family. I'm not an expert enough to say if that's kind of correct or not, but that's the general thinking, I believe.
I mean, you can tell that the scroll is not your usual Tesla scroll. Well, I mean, you could argue that we've seen Teslas with scrolls like this, but you could say they're all from the pastas. I'm sure they're convinced enough that the scroll resembles a pasta a lot.
But yeah, it's an interesting looking violin. Possibly the not my favorite Testore that I've ever seen, but it certainly is interesting. Peter Ratcliffe's Dendro here. You can see all the matches here. The bass side 1723, treble side 1718. You see all the matches Stradivari, Bergonzi, etc. So some high level kind of matches on this.
I was just gonna say if the instrument passed vibe check in person, and you basically just said no.
Well, the thing is, like, I think this is quite like a I think this is like a typical kind of model. I think this is like the varnish was quite typical. For me, it's not as exciting as I'd like it to be for a Testore because I like uh some of the kind of more freer elements of instruments by the Testore family, and I feel that this really isn't giving me what I'm looking for. But that's not to say that it isn't like a really nice instrument. It
I
is. It's
think
just for me personally, it's not really
I think this one has a lot of potential for private sale if you restore it properly, because this one doesn't actually have a samples crack at all. I used for a while I used to think no 18th century Italian instrument have no samples crack until I've seen a couple. Then I realized yes they do exist, and this could be one of them.
yeah.
Most cracks are pretty minor, whether it's a one on the bass bar side. What could have happened with this one? It's just my wild theory, which lucky I could be wrong. Is that The crack on the left is not a bass bar crack, but an old sound post crack when the instrument was set up to play with the left hand, because you can see the chin mark on the right.
Okay, interesting thought. Yeah.
But then when it's shifted back, the sound post side is clean, which is a good thing.
Okay, yeah.
But then I
That,
could be wrong because that bass bar crack is right over the bass. It's a little, well, you could maybe see a little bit of crack, but I don't know if that's a crack. So
mm,
you never know. I mean, it could be back in the days the sound post wasn't placed in the same place as today. But you never know. But at this point, I don't think it matters very much. Point is that there is no crack under the sound post. Be nice to double check if there's no patch underneath it either. So this, for the price, I think pretty nice instrument. Although the top of the back has something, but that's also normal because that's where you replace. You make a huge graft a lot of time and replace the button and everything.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. And it's the top's been half edged a bit, but that's not unusual for an instrument of this age. So
yeah.
that's nice,
Otherwise,
really.
I think for the price, if someone can get it for 50,000 pounds and put a couple $10,000 something to fix it up, I think it'll do very well in private sale.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, well, let's see what else we have. And let's hang on a second. So I think the next one we have down on our list is 130. Says this a violin by Marino Capiccioni, Rimini, 1962. Well, it's doing quite well in the bids at the moment. 47,500, 40 to 60 is the estimate there. Interesting looking instrument, quite strong varnish from what I recall in person, and looks like it's in really amazing condition. I suppose it's only from 1962, so you'd hope it's not too bad. Any thoughts, Max?
Oh yes, I'm sorry, I was totally zoomed out. This Cappuccini from I don't know if it's because of the pictures or it just looks like a new mass-produced factory instrument, but from 1962, this is amazing. Like if you take a closer look, this is in such a good condition.
Yeah,
Nicely polished. The wood is really good. Like not a single crack. This is, hot for the market right now.
yeah, this is
I
exactly what people want. And 354 body length, really nice, good length as well.
Yes, I don't know what this is doing on at auctions. Whoever can sign this probably desperately need cash.
Yeah, exactly.
So, if I've seen this, I'm be like, do not put it on auction. Just wait till someone pays a lot more for this. This is worth a lot more. So, if you have the money, although it's already on Amati, so I think people knows how much this is worth. Is gonna bid on it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It will be a great investment.
Yeah, it will do well, this thing. A nice looking instrument. Uh, I'm not usually that massive a fan of some of the contemporary Italian stuff, but this is
Yeah, I mean, nothing too interesting for us. If I have the money, I wouldn't be going for this one either. Well, that sounds like me backtracking, but if I had the money to buy something that I personally find very nice, it would be this one. But it is objectively very nice.
yeah. I think let's move on. Well, the one right next to it, this is way more up your street. A violin by Jean-Baptiste and Nicolas Viaume, Paris, 1845. Estimates 10 to 15, starting bids 10, no bids so far. Another one that I looked at in person.
Yeah, well, tell me about what you thought of it in person.
I thought that if I was honest and use my kind of crude language, I thought it was a bit rough around the edges and nowhere near as refined as the kind of Viomes that we normally see. The varnish is very strong, very vibrant. That's one thing that I liked about it. But otherwise, I thought it was a little bit rough around the edges, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, I think it's awful. That's why I included it on the list.
Right. Okay.
I don't know why it's there on the label because I looked up this joint drum piece that Nicola didn't label. There are only so many instruments label, and these are considered.
I think your audio's gone a bit funny there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, your audio went really odd.
Okay, so these are made in Miracle, which I do not know if they're either actually made by either of the Viums.
Right. Okay.
They're nice, I guess. I mean, it's okay made, but if you look at the back, they're these your typical screwdriver antiquing. Just it, it's it just I don't know why I don't feel like this thing deserves the Vium label. It has it looks nothing like either of the I guess Nicola did make something like this, but to it doesn't deserve the Jean Baptiste label on it whatsoever.
Hmm.
And I don't think is a good chance that this thing has nothing to do with either of them. So I don't think it's worth the money, even
Right.
with the low estimate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't help but
No.
someone who's very vocal about view this just does not pass my vibe check.
No, this is your kind of thing. So, I mean, nice wood there behind the varnish. Like I said, the varnish is quite striking, but overall, this is not really, wasn't really doing anything for me, I must admit.
Yeah. Me either.
No. So let's move on then. Um, Going past a few other things. So this is one you were interested in here. Violin by Paul Blanchard Leon, 1894, with a certificate of Christophe Despierre, Paris, 2011. The estimate 10 to 15, current bid 10, length of back 359. So we've got a lot of other documents here.
Yeah, I just think Blanchards are going for pretty high now, and this is a pretty nice example. Your typical French, well finished French instrument, nothing to say about it. And I think Blanchard's works have been pretty consistently good. So yeah, this is your average good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, this is, this is not my thing either. So,
Condition is
um,
also really nice. There's no crack or anything.
yeah, I like the kind of the layout and the shape of the F holes, but otherwise, the varnish wise, this isn't my thing. But I can appreciate that this is a popular type of
Well,
in
you got to think that when Straz made his instruments, this is what they all look like too. It's just that nowadays we've seen so many instruments in this condition. We get a little complacent about them. But
Mm.
this is 1894, and in this condition, I think it's objectively nice. Maybe it doesn't press the right buttons for us.
Yeah, no, I think you're completely right. The condition for the age, incredible, really. It's just not my taste, I think, not my
Yeah.
taste. But an interesting instrument. Um, and I think we'll carry on a bit further. If you see anything else that you're interested, do say. Um, let's just kind of scroll through so that people can get an idea of what else is in this auction. Like I said, it's definitely important to try and look at things before they disappear from the online world. This is the next one here. I think I just added this in because it wasn't into your list, but I thought we should probably look at it. A violin by Giovanni Battista Marassi, Cremona,
Uh,
1975.
I
Estimate 10 to 15, already on 27,500.
Oh, did I not add it to the list?
It wasn't on your original list, but maybe you just
Yeah, I
missed it.
maybe I didn't find it too incredible. I mean, Morasi, you see a lot of his stuff, and I weirdly hear that name a lot in China. Um, I think there's a reason to that. Because I think he's one of the guy who run the Cremona violin making school.
Exactly, yeah.
Um, I don't know if that's a compliment or whatever. I mean, it's nice. It's your typical modern contemporary Cremonese.
Yeah. I mean, the back is very beautiful. So
Well, Actually, is Giovanni Battista the guy who run the violin making school? Or that's Simone who run it?
Um, I think it was, but I get a bit confused.
Yeah, I mean it's probably from the family.
Yeah, an interesting instrument. It's obviously doing very well over estimates. The Amati people are happy, I'm sure, about that. So
Yeah, probably Asian bidders.
it could be, yeah, it's
Yeah.
possible.
I mean, for 75, I don't think it's worth that much.
Yeah,
You know,
but
if you can buy a what's the family in Florence called again? More no
do you mean Carcassi?
no the modern Vettori,
Modern. Um,
the Vettori family.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can buy a Vettori for even less than this. Or you know, what's the other guy in Cremona called? He talks funny. Um, what's his name? Damn, sorry. Edgar Roos. As the other guy in Cremona, what's his name? But whatever. You know, these people charge you 40,000 euro for it. You know, you end up paying 30,000 for this one too.
Mm,
So
yeah, it's an interesting. Well, let's move on anyway. Let's scroll through and see if there's anything else here. I think the next number on our list, can't remember if this is one I added or not. Oh yeah, I just added this really quickly. I just thought this violin by Georges Chanot, Paris 1840. I did a video of this one as well. I did a video of quite a few. The varnish on this so dark. I mean, it has that classic kind of your Chanot kind of like almost like quite long bodied, long F holes. The varnish like so dark on this particular example.
366.
I know, absolutely insane. I
This the
I really don't think anyone's going to bid on this. Um,
it's the kind of French instrument you want to stay away from.
yeah.
It does look interesting. Look nice.
I really like these. I kind of like the aesthetics of it, but this is just a bit too big, really. But
Yeah.
and like this was very dark. In the auction room, I had to really move it around to be able to get it to pick up on the camera because it was so dark. But I just thought this was a bit of a curious one to mention. Not super exciting, but like worth kind of showing a little bit.
Makes sense.
And then I think our next step is the one right next to it, actually, is the here's the violin by Francesco di Emiliani, Rome, circa 1725, sold with certificate for Andreas Voivod, London 2014. Estimates 25 to 35,000, starting bid 25, but no bids so far.
Yeah. Well, I believe you're familiar with Woywood.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like the certificate is good. There are no questions about that. I think it's more. I mean, this instrument was actually really nice, a lot nicer in person than I think it is in the pictures on this website, to be honest.
Yeah.
Obviously it's had quite a bit of new wood towards the bottom, lots of repaired kind of cracks all over. But yeah, this is one of those instruments that I think is a lot nicer in person than it is on these pictures.
Yeah, it's interesting. It almost looks like it's too fresh, but then you look at the condition reports, it's filled with cracks.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's had a bit of a hard life, this one, but a nice instrument. Not kind of super drawn to it, but yeah, I think worth looking at. 352 length, so that's not
Yeah.
not bad. It's a
Do you
good
figure
kind
if
of
the
length there.
straws are original?
Um, it's a good question. Let's see if there's yeah, it doesn't say, does he? Doesn't say that it's not.
Mm.
So
Oh, let's look at Cosio. Emiliani. Francesco Emiliani. Let's scroll down to the scrolls.
Scroll to the scroll.
Yeah, well, Cozy is not showing too many scrolls. I see one scroll here. It looks sort of like it. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is an original scroll, which I guess is a plus. Yeah.
Yeah, I think an interesting instrument, but nothing really kind of moving me on this one. So, but if we kind of move on, because I think it's to the one next door. This is an interesting English or London instrument, violin by William Forster II, Old Forster, circa 1780. Estimate 4 to 8, starting bids of 4, no bids so far. Length of back 355, so that's really, really good. This is another instrument that I think is way nicer in person than it is in the pictures. This is a nice violin and a good, really, really good English maker as well.
Mm-hmm. So I wasn't actually looking. There you go. Um, William Forster. Yes, I did see this one. I thought you'd find it interesting. I'm just not very familiar with English stuff.
Yeah,
But
the
yeah.
outline is interesting and kind of F-hole placement as well is
Oh, this is
interesting.
1780. That's very nice for a 1780. The condition was this is good.
Yeah, I think this is a nice example.
It's just a bit of a shame. Like even English, like this is very clean for the age. It's just a bit of a shame that even English shops don't want to sell English now.
Yeah, I mean, some do. I think
Mhm.
there's maybe more call for English instruments when they're in Baroque setup than
Mhm.
modern, potentially. I mean, that, that might not be entirely true, but in some of my kind of travels, it seems to be people are more likely to want an older English instrument or some older English instruments as Baroque are more accepted than in modern, but
Yeah. Do you know why they're more often converted to Baroque? Well, converted, but back converted, I guess, converted back to Baroque.
Well, I mean, I guess maybe because they are like less valuable, so there's less to lose, isn't there? If you
Yeah.
have like a really valuable Italian violin, you essentially are kind of devaluing it, aren't you, to make it into a Baroque violin, and you pay the price as well to get the conversion. Obviously, you
Yeah.
could convert it back, but it's just causes a bit of an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, a nice
Nice.
solid violin.
Yeah, it almost reminds me of the what's that Italian guy called? And the one I think was he in Milan or was he in Venice? Um, Jeez, here. Let me just double check. Um, it's so late in the day that my brain couldn't pull up anything. Let's see. I think it was in Milan. Um, the F holes. I don't know if that those remind you of anything.
Yeah, they do a bit.
Um, what's his name? What's his name? Sorry, I'm just going through the list of names. Is it Landolfi? No. Oh, Landolfi. No, the other guy. I'm sure it's Venice. There was crap. I'm sorry. Teresa was making me log in. There you go. Venice. Trying to find the name of that guy. I'm sorry. I just have to at this point.
Right, okay.
Um, Tononi, I think. A little bit reminds me of Tononi.
Okay. Yeah.
Or someone else I was thinking. I don't know where my brain's going. Yeah, I guess I was thinking of Tononi.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. Well, let's kind of move on anyway and see what else we have. Next one on the list here. I
Oh,
think
sorry, I
you
was thinking
had.
about Gobetti. Sorry, I was thinking
Okay.
about Gobetti.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Looks a
Uh,
lot like a Gobetti.
uh, Next one on our list that you're quite interested in, this violin Circle of Joseph Bassot, Paris, circa 1800. with certificate of Mocatel and Deschamps, Rome, 1959. Estimate 10 to 12, starting bids 10, no bids so far. I think that this instrument might have been at auction before or one very similar. I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, we've seen one that's attributed to Joseph Basalt, not Circov. I
Right,
just think
okay.
it's quite nice. It's it's one of those because I personally have a lot to say about late 18th century Strat copies from France, and this is a very nice example. If you can put a name on it, the way that the pins are made, um, the corner works, the purfling. It's I think if you could put a name on this, this potentially could be worth a lot. It's very clean, condition is very nice.
Nice kind of transition of the varnish on the back.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure those are not intentional,
Yeah.
but yeah, condition wise, this is quite good. If I remember, yeah, this is the one with an unreported cheek graft, I think.
Right, okay.
Something along the line, because I see a line here. I don't know if that's a graft. Probably not. I don't know. Oh,
There's
that's maybe
also
another instrument with an unreported cheek graft, I remember.
Also, if you zoom in to the back, there's like a bit of a gouge, which looks a bit
In the
like a
middle.
crack right dead center that's not
Yeah.
on the sheet.
At that place it could just be a scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go with scratch, but it's hard to tell. I don't know if you saw anything in person with this one.
I didn't remember seeing anything too worrying in person. It seemed okay to me, I think.
Yeah, I think I think this is quite nice if someone can put a name on it. I think measurement wise, 359. Okay, it's a little long on the long side, which is usual for French stuff at the time. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And we'll see what else we have here. I think moving down through the list of instruments here, I think the next one we had down here is Lot 189. Bit of a random one, but a violin France 19th century.
Mhm.
Estimate 2 to 4. Oh, I do remember looking at this one actually, and I did a video on this, and I mentioned that it needs a bit of restoration with this crack. But this is quite is a fairly interesting instrument. Their estimate 2 to 4, starting bids 2, 359 length of back.
Yeah, it has a lot of similarity with the previous one.
Yeah, definitely.
The size, the corner works, the F hole, though it doesn't have the really nice pins, but the wood is also all pretty nice.
Yeah, it's got some nice wear to it.
Yeah, it could be some sort of like peak or loophole,
Yeah,
that circle of things. Interesting scroll as well as the little bit that Jesu vibe, the canone.
it's had a bit of a hard life though with the cracks and the replaced wood, unfortunately,
Mhm.
but hence the lower price, I think.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on. Again, and we'll scroll down. So we're just trying to cover the lots in a kind of non crazy way. So lot 199, I think, is next on our list. The violin, probably by a member of the Scarbi family, Rome, 19th century, with the Hill registration on the fingerboard. 3 to 5 the estimate, 3,250 the current bid. This was one of my favorite instruments in the auction. The back of this instrument, just the general workmanship, the varnish on this instrument, really, really beautiful, really lovely.
Well, the pictures definitely made it look a little boring.
This, I think, from the back end, this is for me personally, this is the kind of instrument that I look for. Like, this is the kind of like back that I like to see on an instrument personally, and this kind of like I like this kind of mixture of colors on the varnish. So this is what kind of draws me into an instrument in any case, but I have my own unique preferences. but not too bad condition wise either. But yeah, I think this is for me, this is one of my favorite instruments of the auction. Do you have much to say about this?
I don't see anything, too incredible, but I'm sure it looks nice. And I mean, from the details, look at the purfling and everything, the thick purfling, and that's what you look. That's what a lot of people really like for older instruments and the little knot on the back and everything, which I don't know. I'm sure you've mentioned. It's
Yeah.
interesting for 19th century. A little bit on the late side, I guess, but I wonder what Dandro says on this one.
Yeah.
And conditions super good, so
Yeah, exactly. No, I think
definitely
this is an interesting lot for sure.
it definitely worth the money. So you can see why people is already bidding on it.
Exactly. And we're carrying on, and I think we're going past a few different ones here. And then we're going to lot 218, a violin by Nestor Ordonneau, Paris, 1907. Estimate 8 to 12. Current bid is 8. The body length 355.
Let me go back to that. All right, yes, I think I picked this one
You did, yeah.
for Udino. This is the price 8,000, 12,000. I think probably the same reason why I picked the Blanchard later. I mean, to me, they're about the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was quite a striking instrument in person from what I recall. Um, this kind of the figure of the wood and I think I prefer the varnish on this instrument to the Blanchard.
Yeah, it
Uh,
reminds me a lot of some of the Dudon that was on Amber auctions a couple years ago. Although
yeah,
they're definitely a lot cheaper stuff. They have very nice wood, maybe even nicer than this. But yeah, this is a personal work, I assume, by Udino.
yeah, yeah. I think it's a good example for
I,
sure.
I I don't think because I feel like this price here is nearing retail, so I don't think it'll be a great sleeper on an auction. But I'm sure you get what you pay for this one.
Exactly. So we'll carry on a bit more and we'll just go through some of these lots. This is my sneaky way of still covering all of the lots in the auction. And I think the next one we have down here is this really great violin, actually. Lot 239, violin by Jacob Fent, London, circa 1830 there. Estimate 3 to 5. It's already current bid on 3, 353 length of back. This is a wonderful instrument, really, really
Love
lovely.
love warm tracks on the back
That's
and
okay. That's
grass.
extra sound ports.
You should say extra protein if the warm
Yeah,
still
extra
alive.
protein. Yeah, I mean like the scroll has been obviously has been cheeked on both sides and there's a few worm party investigations. I have to say that I think this is probably quite wrong, but I kind of quite like the look of like a partly warm worm eaten
Yeah.
violin. So but we
Well,
all know that I have absolutely terrible taste in instruments, so that's probably not a good thing.
I mean, it definitely affects the value. I honestly, a warm track is as long as the worms are dead, I don't think there's really any issue. But the real problem is that worms comes in one place, leave in another, and leave a huge maze underneath. It makes you wonder like what is going on underneath it.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean
could
instruments with bad wormers like usually might well could have like weird buzz problems and other things like that. So
yeah,
which can be a bit irritating.
yeah, that I'm sure if it's well filled up, it should be fine. There are concerns that the repairs may get shaken up, but I feel like any repair can be shaken up if it's not done properly. So
Yeah, definitely. But
and
but
shine
another
us, shine some light through it to see how extensive the worm tracks are. But if I remember, isn't Jacob one of the more celebrated maker in the Fan family with his
yeah, definitely.
yeah, this very well made instrument. Probably some sort of a Amati model they're making here. They make a lot of Strat models.
Hmm.
It's your signature fence style button finishing.
Yeah. No, I think it's a nice fence family instrument.
Yeah,
So yeah, good example. Other than the worms.
yeah.
And we'll
So
move
unfortunate.
we'll move on a little bit more and just see what else we've got. We've got a couple left, I think, to cover. It's
Yeah.
amazing how long we can talk about these instruments. We think that we'll be quicker by cutting it down. It ends up the other way.
Well,
So then
I guess
the
you feel a
next,
little rushed if we're going through everything.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. So the next lot here, lot 258, I think this is one that you had down here. A
I,
violin, Mircore circa 1910. That's an interesting choice.
I didn't pick it because it's particularly nice. It's just I saw the icon. I saw the small picture on the catalog. I'm like, that's a color maison, right? And I clicked it. Yes, it's labeled color maison. I mean, I think the reason they didn't attribute it to color maison is because, like people say on Maestro Net, what is a color maison is a bit of a philosophical question. Because
Yeah,
the workshop they buy so many stuff from just all over the place, put their varnish on and just label it color maison. But I would think fix this up, have it nicely polished. This could work as a color maison in any shop. Obviously, you slap like a 10,000 pound price tag on it and hope someone buys it.
exactly.
So yeah, but other than that, I, it has a signature, right? Yeah,
Yes,
describe. Yeah,
that's
there you go. You got the whole formula.
yeah, exactly.
It's as color maison as it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, not my kind of thing at all, I have to say. But
I
yeah,
wouldn't
like you
buy.
said, these are popular. So
Yeah, I wouldn't buy anything like this now either. But if you can buy it for 2,000, just if you run a shop,
yeah,
you know what I mean.
exactly. Okay, so then I think we're moving on to our last kind of one here. Actually, this one, lot 260, violin, probably Austria, circa 1900. I think this is one of your choices here.
Yeah. It's not my
Uh,
favorite. I just thought this is also a very typical Austrian instrument. I picked a lot of instruments because they're very representational for what they are.
okay, yeah,
Yeah, I
that's a
think
good.
just for educational purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for educational purpose, just remember the look of this instrument. This is an Austrian instrument.
Yeah, I think well, I mean that's the benefit of going through um these auction catalogs from cover to cover basically and looking at everything, even if it's not something that you're especially looking for, just because you know, okay, so this is what an Austrian violin might look like, but I'm not interested in them. So you know that you can kind of move away from those if you see them when you're looking at an auction viewing or something. It's good to know about all of the instruments, I think.
Mhm.
It's good to get an overview of all
Yeah,
types of instruments, even if you're not kind of that interested in them. But yeah, I just think that people should still really look through all the auctions from uh
exactly.
front to back.
Because I used to be a lot really picky, and I feel like I missed out a lot of learning opportunities.
Exactly. I mean, I think it's good to understand that instruments come in many different shapes and sizes, and even if you're just looking for Italian violins, there's not just one type of Italian violin. You have to understand there's quite a range of different styles and workmanship, and it's good to look at these auctions to understand how wide a range of differences there are between different kind of instruments. So it's all a good learning experience.
Mhm.
So we'll just move through here quickly. We're getting towards the end anyway. We're on to books now. So just to show people that there's a few other things that you can look at here and buy. All these books are usually the same anyway. A few cases and things. So yeah, I mean, essentially that is the Amati auction. We've picked out a few kind of key things to look at. You might have a different opinion to us. If you're watching these videos, feel free to kind of comment if you have any thoughts. If you prefer the old style of video where we go through everything really quickly at light speed, let us know. If you like this new type of video, let us know. We're just experimenting, trying to listen to what people want, and we'll try and get Max on a bit more if he's able to, but he's very busy, or we'll see if we can
Or
tear him away from the engineering lab.
yeah,
So
we're just lazy.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I wouldn't let you know which one it is.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that's kind of it really. I'll put a link to the auction anyway. And like I said at the beginning, like this will disappear, this auction, so you won't be able to see stuff after the auction's finished, or for the most part, you might not be able to. Said some of them you can sometimes see the catalogs, but it's a bit hit and miss. So that's it really. And yeah, have a look and see what you think. And please do comment, like, and subscribe, all of that stuff. Even if it's a negative comment, even if you think like the other videos, they're better, or can you do this, or can you just get Max doing the videos instead? Whatever, that's fine. Just comment and we'll do what we can. We're open to kind of changing and mixing things up and kind of trying different things for sure. So yeah, so Max, I just wanted to say thanks a lot for joining on this video, and hopefully we can do some more again soon. Any kind of closing statements before we head off?
You are very welcome, and definitely, I think auctions come in various shapes and forms. So interesting stuff. I
Exactly.
should make that my sign off phrase every time.
Yeah, good plan. Well, excellent. Well, thanks, Max, and thanks for everyone that's watching this video or ends up watching this video. And yeah, I think we'll catch you next time. So goodbye from me.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Many thanks for tuning in to the Musical Instrument Investigator. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please like, subscribe and turn on notifications, and watch out for the next video coming soon.